Welcome back to Narrate Now. Today we're diving into a chilling horror thriller where an orphaned brother and sister are adopted by a seemingly kind woman. But inside her home lies a terrifying secret: strange rituals, demonic possessions, and a foster mother willing to sacrifice anything, even them, for her lost child. Buckle up because things are about to get dark. The movie begins with Andy, who seems to be searching for something inside the house. Suddenly, the boy standing behind him starts cutting a fruit with a knife in a very strange manner. But instead of just eating the fruit, he begins eating the knife along with it. His mouth gets injured, blood dripping as the sharp blade tears through his lips and gums. Andy panics, horrified at the sight. He rushes forward, snatches the knife from the boy's mouth, and drags him toward the door to take him to the hospital. But strangely, the boy resists. He doesn't want to leave the house. Andy forces him out, only to realize that just beyond the house there is a white circle drawn on the ground. The boy tries to cross it, but instantly collapses, his body convulsing violently, as though something else was inside him trying to tear its way out. Andy, terrified, watches his body tremble unnaturally. Just then, the scene cuts to 1 week earlier. Here, Andy's father dies mysteriously while taking a shower. This tragedy leaves Andy shaken and stressed. We also learn that Andy and his sister Piper have very poor eyesight. After their father's death, they are adopted by a woman named Laura, who is already raising a mute boy, the same boy from the opening scene. Laura once had a daughter of her own, but the girl, who was blind, tragically drowned in the family swimming pool. Andy feels sorry hearing this, but also finds Laura's behavior strange. His suspicion grows when Laura introduces them to her dead dog's body, which she had preserved. Later, when Andy and Piper explore the backyard, they spot a child in nothing but pants sitting inside the empty swimming pool. The boy has a cat clutched tightly in his hands, squeezing it so hard that the animal cries in pain. Hearing the cat's screams, Laura rushes over, rescues the cat, and introduces the boy as Oliver. When Oliver turns and stares at Andy with an unnervingly intense look, Andy shudders in fear. When Piper asks Laura about Oliver's appearance, Laura lies and describes him as a cute little boy with curly hair, completely different from his real frightening look. Later, Laura takes measurements of Andy and Piper's bodies, something Andy finds very odd. She gives Piper her late daughter's room and Andy the room next to it. One evening, as Andy chats with his friends, he senses Laura eavesdropping. When he gets up to grab something, Laura quickly snatches his phone and reads his messages. Furious, Andy confronts her, warning her never to touch his things again. That night, Laura takes Oliver downstairs, plays an old video of a ritual, and forces him to watch. The next day, she secretly takes Oliver to an outside storeroom, something Andy notices suspiciously. The following morning, Andy wakes to find his bed wet. Confused, since he never had such a habit, he goes to bathe, but the sound of the shower instantly reminds him of his father's death, triggering panic. A few days later, their father's funeral is held. Andy and Piper don't mourn. Instead, they feel relieved, as their father used to them. Laura, however, insists Andy kiss his father's head one last time, but Andy refuses. Instead, Laura snips a lock of the dead man's hair and keeps it. On the way back from the funeral, Laura insists they celebrate, saying, "It is necessary to celebrate our peace after death. Otherwise, grief will consume us." That night, they party and drink. Piper goes to sleep, leaving Andy and Laura to talk. Andy admits his father had tortured him his entire childhood, and he feels nothing but freedom after his death. Laura, in turn, reveals that since her daughter died, she has been mentally unstable, craving to hear someone call her mother again. But after Andy falls asleep, Laura does something deeply disturbing. She urinates into a container and pours it onto Andy's bed. The next morning, Andy wakes up, shocked to find his bed wet again. When he takes his clothes downstairs to wash them, Laura pretends to know nothing and even joins Piper in mocking Andy for wetting the bed. Humiliated, Andy starts bathing outside under the garden tap to avoid the bathroom, haunted by his father's memory. While bathing, Andy notices Oliver staring at him from the window. Oliver suddenly snatches a fly, crushes it in his hand, and eats it raw. Disgusted, Andy assumes Oliver is hungry and takes him to the kitchen, where he cuts fruit for him. But Oliver strangely grips the knife, injuring his hand, and then begins to chew on the knife. Andy takes the knife away and drags Oliver toward the hospital. And this brings us back to the opening scene. Oliver collapses while trying to cross the white circle outside. Laura arrives just in time, furious with Andy. She scolds him for making a big mistake and drags Oliver into the basement, where she performs a dark ritual on him, chanting over his body. At night, Laura places the lock of Andy's father's hair, the one she had cut earlier, into Oliver's mouth as part of her ritual. Meanwhile, Andy is haunted by flashbacks of his father's death. His panic lands him in the hospital where doctors sedate him. Laura visits, gifts him perfume, and comforts him. Andy, however, warns her never to let Piper go out in the rain. He has a strange fear it would kill her, but Laura ignores him. One day, she deliberately takes Piper out to play in the rain, dressing her in her late daughter's clothes and coaxing her to call her mother. Piper refuses, choosing Andy instead. Though Laura hides her anger behind a smile, her obsession grows darker. She even shows Piper her daughter's preserved inside a freezer. Meanwhile, Andy grows suspicious. One night, he sees Oliver in the garden, horns sprouting from his head, his eyes glowing red. Andy films this on his phone, but Laura catches him, beats him, and destroys the evidence. Piper, relying on scent due to her poor vision, mistakenly accuses Andy of harming her, because Laura had secretly sprayed him with the perfume. Laura manipulates Piper, convincing her that Andy is turning into their abusive father. Andy, desperate, runs to the council office that had granted Laura custody. There, he discovers Oliver's face among missing children. He realizes Laura must have kidnapped him. Returning home with a councilwoman, Andy finds Oliver devouring a raw corpse in the basement. Laura tries to stop them, but the woman sees everything. They attempt to flee, but Laura rams them with her car, killing the woman instantly. Andy barely survives, but Laura tries to drown him in water. Meanwhile, Piper grows suspicious. She confronts Laura, saying she lied about Oliver being cute. Laura, enraged, drags Piper toward the basement, revealing her ultimate plan. She had made a pact with a demon. To bring back her daughter, she must sacrifice an innocent soul. Piper. Piper fights back and escapes briefly, but Laura overpowers her and attempts to drown her in the rain-filled swimming pool. Desperate, Piper cries out, "Please, Mom!" These words melt Laura's heart. For a moment, her maternal instinct awakens and she saves Piper. But the nightmare isn't over. Oliver, now fully monstrous, attacks Piper. She kicks him away, and in pain, he stumbles across the white circle. To Laura's horror, once Oliver crosses the barrier, he becomes completely normal again. Piper runs and is rescued by a passing driver. Police arrive, saving Oliver as well. In the post-credits, we see Laura, broken and hopeless, drowning in the pool with her daughter's corpse. She realizes she can never bring her child back. And with that, the movie ends. And that was today's terrifying recap. What would you do if your foster mother turned out to be performing demonic rituals in her basement? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Narrate Now, your home for the darkest, creepiest, and most shocking movie recaps. Until next time, stay safe, and don't trust everything behind closed doors.